Choose Southern Steer Butcher.
1010XL is presented by Barra & Barra, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Thursday evening that finds us in the first college football playoff semifinal. We got, about 8.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Scoreless down in Miami between Notre Dame and Penn State. Penn State has the ball at their own 2-yard line, 1st and 10. Again, the winner of this game advances to the national championship game on January the 20th, where they will take on the winner of tomorrow night's semifinal between Texas and Ohio State. So we'll keep you updated between the Irish and the Nittany Lions. Obviously, a lot of Jaguar talk tonight as the coaching search continues. In fact, it's just been out here in the last hour or so that, by my knowledge, the Jaguars will do their first virtual interview tomorrow with Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. Ben Johnson is scheduled to do a virtual interview on Saturday. I believe Aaron Glenn is also scheduled to do a virtual interview on Saturday with Jacksonville. Robert Saleh is scheduled next Tuesday to do an interview, but Steve Spagnuolo is going to do his interview with Jacksonville tomorrow. He's also interviewing with the Jets and the Raiders as the head coaching carousel is spinning very, very wildly right now. That's where I want to begin. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Mark Long of the Associated Press joins me in less than 15 minutes. As you can imagine, Mark has a lot of thoughts about everything that's transpired with the Jaguars this week. So we'll talk to Mark Long about that in less than 15 minutes. Also, my friend, former offensive tackle, you hear him every day on Primetime, the Pro Bowler Leon Searcy. We get him every week here on Hacker After Dark. He joins me about 35 minutes or so from now, and we will get Leon, former Jaguar Pro Bowler, his take on everything that has transpired this week. So it's all Jags all the time here in hour number one. We are with you up until 10 o'clock tonight. Every night on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Things are happening fast. Things are happening furious when it comes to the NFL coaching carousel. There are still 6 jobs that are open: the New York Jets, the New Orleans Saints, the Vegas Raiders, the New England Patriots. You got the Chicago Bears, and you have, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And once you think things are at least settled with firings, earlier today, the Las Vegas Raiders, 2 days after they fire Antonio Pierce, the head coach, they fired general manager Tom Telesco. Reportedly, the reason why is they want their new GM and their new head coach to be in sync, in unison, start on the same timeline. What an absolutely wild thought that is, right? So Vegas will be a clean start for whoever gets that job. And I've seen people link Ben Johnson to that job because it's a clean start. And while I agree that on the surface that appears to be interesting, Ben Johnson has turned down multiple head coaching opportunities in the past. He's being interviewed by anybody that has a head coaching opening this cycle. Why on earth would he take over on a Las Vegas Raiders roster that has been one of the worst rosters in football for the last couple of years, that has nothing resembling a franchise quarterback? I just don't connect the dots there. I get they fired their GM, and that immediately leads you to believe Ben Johnson is in their plans, and maybe Ben Johnson is in their plans. I just find it hard to believe that the Raiders are in Ben Johnson's plans. And that brings me to the candidates. As we know, the Jaguars have requested to interview 10 guys. 10. It's a lot of guys. You got the two guys in Detroit, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson. You got Liam Cohen. You got Kellen Moore, right? Joe Brady, that's 5. You got Todd Monken is 6. And then you have defensive guys like Robert Saleh, Brian Flores, Steve Spagnuolo, and Patrick Graham. Those, I believe, are the 10 known requests the Jaguars have put out there. So when you decipher those 10 names, and again, that's a lot to look at, that's a lot to digest, kind of here's where I am right now. And I brought this up last night, but to rehash it a little bit. Of the 10 requests the Jaguars have made, the 10 known requests, I think Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, or Aaron Glenn, and I'm going to be very, very happy. Very happy. You tell me Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, or Aaron Glenn is the brand new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to be pretty fired up. I got to be honest with you. So that's my tier 1. Tier 2, if you tell me it's Joe Brady, Brian Flores, Robert Saleh, I'll be reasonably happy about that as well. Again, tier 1 for me, Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, Aaron Glenn. Underneath them in tier 2, I would put Brian Flores, I would put Joe Brady, I would put Robert Saleh. After that, I don't know a lot about Patrick Graham, Steve Spagnuolo. That guy just seems to be an amazing defensive coordinator. He did not do well as a head coach when he was given the opportunity. Kellen Moore and Todd Monken, I'd rather have Joe Brady, Liam Cohen, or Ben Johnson. But the point in all of that is, of the 10 guys, I would be perfectly content with 6 of them. I'd be perfectly content with 60% of the names that we've seen. The Jaguars have a better than 50-50 shot in making me happy. Really happy with Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, or Liam Cohen. Pretty happy with Robert Saleh, Brian Flores, or Joe Brady. If it's Spagnuolo, Graham, Monken, or Kellen Moore, I would have questions. So, having said that, I think the Jaguars are going to make me happy. I'll take those 6 guys. I'll give you the field. And I think the Jaguar head coach will be one of those 6. Johnson, Cohen, Glenn, Flores, Saleh, Brady. And I feel fairly confident in that. If it is not one of those 6, my thoughts, my narrative, the conversation you and I have on a nightly basis here will change just a bit. 2 of those guys are Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. We're going to go to Detroit later on here on Hacker After Dark, about an hour or so from now. One of my guys in Detroit when it comes to the Lions is Mike Peyton. He's one of their beat writers, A-to-Z-Sports.com. I want to talk to Mike about Ben Johnson. I want to talk to Mike about Aaron Glenn, kind of get his thoughts from a guy that's around them every single day. See what he thinks about both guys and their candidacy here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A little bit of breaking NFL news on this Thursday night regarding the playoffs coming up. Denmark, let's do a little breaking news right now.
This just on Hacker After Dark.
We know about those horrible wildfires out in California. Just awful, man. Just awful. In fact, the Lakers-Hornets NBA game was postponed tonight. Well, we talked about this briefly last night. You got the Vikings and the Rams Monday night scheduled for SoFi Stadium in L.A. Not anymore. The Vikings and the Rams game will be moved to Glendale, Arizona, the home of the Arizona Cardinals. So you will essentially now have a neutral site playoff game Monday night, Minnesota, L.A., Vikings, Rams in Glendale Monday night because of just the devastation out in California, out in L.A. County with those wildfires. Prayers, thoughts, anything you can muster, go to all those people because that is just heinous looking. Some of the videos that's coming out of there. You want everybody to be safe. And they are moving the NFL playoff game, Vikings-Rams, to Glendale, Arizona. Still scoreless, Penn State and Notre Dame. Over midway through the first quarter, did Riley Leonard just throw a pick?
Yep.
I believe he did. Riley Leonard of Notre Dame just threw a pick. Penn State has it right around their own 40, 45-yard line. Denmark, I know you've been watching the first 10 minutes of this game pretty intently. What's jumped out to you about it?
Both teams moved the ball about at midfield their first drive and then punted, and now the game's really started. Notre Dame got to, where were they at? About, I think, right around their own 40, and that ball kind of sailed on Riley Leonard. So, I mean, it's gonna be a low-scoring game like everybody thought. It's going to come down to the last team with the ball, and somebody's going to have a turnover in the fourth quarter, and that'll probably determine the game.
Big game for James Franklin tonight. He's got to prove he can beat a top 10 team. James Franklin just does not beat top 10 teams normally at Penn State. And keep in mind, Penn State got to the semifinal with wins over SMU and Boise State. They had a reasonably easy time of it, where Notre Dame had to knock out Georgia last week. But we're scoreless. About 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. Penn State has the ball around their own 45-yard line. We will keep you updated. Coming up next, back into the world of the Jacksonville Jaguars, back into the Jaguar coaching search. My friend Mark Long of the Associated Press. He joins me next to talk about everything that has transpired with the Jaguars over these last 4 or 5 days. On a Thursday evening in Jacksonville, Florida. Stay warm out there. It is a chilly one. It's Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Warming up for the real thing.
Comedy, sir.
Comedy?
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
No, this is not comedy.
Start your mornings with a drill
Comedy is fun. It's antics, hysterical type things.
on 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. I just talked about the temperature. When I was 317 pounds, the temperature didn't bother me all that much, right? I had a lot of built-in insulation. Well, now that I've lost well over 100 pounds, I walked outside this morning. Holy moly, I had to put a couple of sweatshirts on. I had to put jogging pants on. Never would I have put jogging pants on last year. I had to this year because I was cold, but it was a good cold because I'm cold because I've lost over 100 pounds with Awaken 180 weight loss. It's one of the great changes. I actually enjoy being cold now. It never happened. I used to sweat all the time. Not anymore. If you need to drop weight like I did, take it from somebody that lost over 100 pounds on this program. Go to awaken180weightloss.com. Awaken 180 weight loss. Life-changing for me. Could be for you as well. Awaken 180 weight loss.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
You can attend the Police Athletic League's 2-day boxing tournament at Julian Jackson Center, January 18th and 19th. Learn more at jaxpal.org.
The Wounded Warrior Project provides what medicine and technology can't: community, counseling, and a second chance. Find ways to help at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Your high school girls can join the Duval Tides girls rugby team. No tryouts and no experience necessary. Learn everything you need to know at Jack's HS Girls Rugby on Facebook and Instagram.
The Creeks Athletic Association in St. Johns County offers a variety of sports for children 5 to 18. Learn how to get your child involved at caaleague.org.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Rev up your life with luxury at Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard. Right now, used car prices are 12% lower than their peak in April of 2022, making this the perfect time to drive home in a dream car. Specializing in luxury used vehicles, offering you elegance at prices that are finally coming back down to earth. See special listings in the newspaper every Saturday or online at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
Ammon, you're always talking about how clean air is healthy air. I've had this cold for weeks. Can cleaning my air ducts actually help?
Well, Dad, I'm not a doctor, and let's be honest, you probably caught that cold from one of your grandkids. But I can tell you this, the cleaner your air, the better you'll feel.
Makes sense, but what do air ducts have to do with it?
Your ducts are like the lungs of your home. If they're full of dust, allergens, and who knows what else, all that junk gets blown into the air you breathe, especially now that the heat's running. And the EPA says improving indoor air quality can reduce health risk.
So you're telling me my vents are working harder than my immune system?
Exactly. That's why Zero Res is here. We're NADCA certified, and our truck mount system is the most powerful in the industry. Right now, we're even offering $100 off your total for January.
All right, sign me up. If it makes me feel better and keeps your mom off my back, I'm all in.
Good call, Dad.
Zero Res.
Spelled border backwards. It's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
January 9, 1991, Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan scores a game-high 40 points to lead the Bulls to a win over Philadelphia, reaching the 15,000-point mark of his career.
The Jacksonville Icemen are back home this Friday and Saturday for Lizard Kings weekend. The Icemen throw it back to the 90s and pay tribute to the Lizard Kings by wearing special themed jerseys and a Lizard King bobblehead giveaway for the first 1,000 fans for Saturday's game. So relive your days from the Reptilian Pavilion, Friday and Saturday at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Game time 7 o'clock. Tickets at Ticketmaster, JacksIceman.com, or call 904-602-POP. Iceman Hockey is #Frozen Frenzy.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars are front and center right now. Doug Peterson gone as the head coach, although that's basically the backstory at this point. Trent Baalke remains as the GM, I guess, for now, and the head coaching search appears to be underway. There is a ton to get into with that. Mark Long of the Associated Press, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Mark, hope you had a happy holidays and a happy new year, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Mark, we're good. Boy, what a time to cover the Jacksonville Jaguars. You've had a couple of days to digest it before we really dive in. Doug Peterson out. Let's begin there, Mark. Why did it not work out for Doug Peterson here in Jacksonville?
Well, I think the bottom line is he never made Trevor Lawrence much better. Were there pockets? Sure. Were there steady improvement? You arguably you could make that case. But, I mean, again, generational talent, that's what everybody was told. That's what everybody was believing. And, he was complete dysfunction in year one under Urban Meyer. And you're thinking, okay, Doug Peterson's going to come in and turn this thing around. And he did in some regard in 2022 with that the way they finished that season and made the playoffs and beat the Chargers and, played well in the second round, all of that. And you're thinking, okay, this thing we're on, it's on a roll. And then all of a sudden Trevor regresses, injuries mount, and you're looking at this going, okay, what's going on? And Schott obviously, listen to both sides, listen to Doug Peterson, listen to Trent Baalke, and liked what Trent was saying more than he liked what Doug was saying. And I think a lot of this was Doug was going to keep, sounds like to me, Doug was going to keep Ryan Nielsen. Doug was going to keep Press Taylor, and Shad Khan didn't want to hear that. Now, you sit down last week before the firing, and those were some of the things that they talked about. And apparently Shad didn't like the answers. So all of a sudden he moved on from Doug Peterson and he believes that this is a good roster. And, I don't know. I go back and forth. I think it's there are some good pieces, but overall I think it's still a very, very mediocre at best roster. I mean, you can't run the ball after 3 years of this. With these coaches, you can't run the ball with this talent. I mean, I don't know how that's getting fixed. The free agent class was one of the worst in franchise history this year in terms of what they paid and what they got out of that investment. And then you look at, what you paid Trevor Lawrence, what you paid Tyson Campbell, what you paid Josh Hines-Allen. You didn't get the return on the investment on any of those. So I don't know how, I look at it, I don't know how Shad Khan looked at this and thought, yeah, I'm going to, blow up the coaching staff, but keep the front office in place.
Mark Long of the AP. That's the crazy thing, Mark. Doug Peterson got fired, 3 days ago, 72 hours or so ago, roughly, and it might as well be a year ago. That's what it feels like, everything that's transpired in the last 48 to 72 hours. You mentioned Trent Baalke. Look, the point I brought up all week is Baalke is not without some positives. I mean, I do think reasonably well he's drafted, Trayvon Walker, Anton Harrison, Brian Thomas Jr. is a grand slam. Cam Little, arguably, might be the best kicker in football, and I'm not kidding about that. He found him in the 6th round. I mean, there are some positives with Trent, but Mark, you're around this team every day, man. You know as well as anybody, for all the positives you mentioned, there's probably a negative or two to offset that when it comes to Baalke.
Well, sure. And Brian Thomas Jr., if he was that good, why'd you trade down and risk losing him, right?
That's fair.
Anton Harrison, if he was that good, why'd you trade down and risk losing him? And I get the love of I don't get Trent Baalke's love of additional draft picks. I know it gives you more guys, but it gives you more Eric Hallett's and Christian Braswell's and Miles Cole's and Keelan Robinson and DeAndre Prince's, Raymond Vahasa. What do those guys do for you? All they do is gum up the back end of your roster. Here's my issue with Trent. And again, Brian Thomas is fantastic. Mason Smith might develop. Jaron Jones looks like you can play with him. Anton Harris, Britton Strange, Tank Bigsby can play with those guys. Trayvon Walker, he screwed that pick up. He should have taken Aiden Hutchinson. Devin Lloyd's, among the top 10 first-round busts in franchise history. Luke Fortner, complete bust. You could even say, they paid Tyson Campbell, they paid Walker Little, but are those guys difference makers? No. Travis Etienne, it looks like they're trying to get rid of him as fast as they can right now. That's another first-round pick. So you look at his first-round picks and hits and misses, but my real issue is where are the mid-round picks? Where are the late-round picks? Cam Little's great. Not every team in the league's looking at a kicker, so let's not pretend like he stole Cam Little. There were 3 kickers And I think they got the third of the three, right? The last one left. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
the last
part of
one.
that is, they got the third of a 3-kicker draft. So it's not like they went out and grabbed the best kicker and he turned out to be the best kicker. They got the one left over and he turned out to be the best kicker, right? The best rookie kicker. So I don't even want to give him too much credit for that. But like where I go back is go look at Dave Caldwell's drafts. He didn't hit on the first round picks, right? But he did hit on the second and the third. They found a lot of mid-round picks. They found a few late-round picks, and really they got a lot of undrafted guys. Go look at it. Avery Jones's stats. You look at Tyler Shatley, 13 years in the league. Keelan Cole.
Yeah.
Keelan Cole. Obviously, we all know Alan Hearns. There's some dudes in there who contributed pretty significant minutes for a team that was built pretty well. Find me a guy under the Trent Baalke era who an undrafted rookie or a late round pick, throw out the kicker, who's come in and done. Monteric Brown, please. The guy's not a starter in this league. Luke Farrell, give me a break. I mean, you're not going to find one. Andre Sisco is a third round pick. That doesn't count, but you just don't find. He has not been able to hit on a late round pick or an undrafted rookie free agent. So, what are you doing with all these extra picks? You're flushing them. You might as well just flush them down the toilet, as far as I'm concerned. So I just don't get it. I don't get what Shad's looking at. I think he believes in Baalke for whatever reason. I think he listens to Baalke for obvious reasons because that's who's got his ear. But when you really break it down and look at it on paper, man, it's a tough sell. And I get, from Shad's standpoint, this is what I do get. It's better than it was under Dave for the first round premier picks. And that's probably what sticks with Shad, because even when he said it, when you asked why Trent, he pointed to Brian Thomas and Anton Harrison. Of course, couldn't name them. He said the receiver and the right tackle, which was, part of a complete debacle of a Zoom call with the owner. But, I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I really don't get the direction of this franchise right now.
Couple more from Mark Long of the Associated Press here on Hacker After Dark. All right, that Zoom call, I thought that was a train wreck. I agree. You were on that Zoom call. I know you asked a question or two. And obviously the thing that's been picked up nationally, and the one that was just a wild comment, is when Shad was asked, I believe by Mia O'Brien, hey, what if a candidate comes in here and wants to talk to you about the personnel department and the GM? And Shad's like, well, I'm paraphrasing here, of course, but if they have good ideas, we might just listen to them. And Baalke's like staring at a deer in headlights into the camera. I mean, that was as awkward a situation as I can remember in quite some time.
Yeah, and again, Shad typically does not do well in these settings. He's a guy who zooms bad, quality, trying to listen to the questions, hearing it is always issues. He's a guy who needs to be on a stage, needs to be protected by whether it's the GM or a head coach or somebody. And if he doesn't know, let the experts talk. Here he is talking about some of these things, and he's clearly talking out of turn, doesn't really know. The big one, that was a bad one, but the worst one to me was he's been in this 13 years, and he doesn't know what a clean sweep is. A clean sweep, when we're talking about a clean sweep or cleaning house, that is not talking about, taking out the food and beverage servers in the cafeteria. It doesn't have anything to do with the medical department. You're talking about the GM in the front office and the coaching staff. That's the clean sweep. Anything else that you've built or improved over the years, that's not going to get touched. We're not talking about completely wiping out everybody in the building. You're just talking about the people who are making the football decisions, the player personnel guys and the coaching guys. So for him to not know that 13 years in, oh my God, come on, man. So there was a lot to be left to be desired. And this is my bottom line take, Hacker, on the whole thing. Shad Khan went from hero to villain in a matter of months. This is a guy who in October saved the franchise, got a new stadium, 30-year lease. Anybody who's, 40, 50 years old, that's it. The team's here for the rest of your life. You don't have to worry about relocation. You don't have to worry about anything like that. This guy saved the franchise, okay? That was in October when that finally got unanimous approval by the league. $2 billion. Going to make this franchise at least competitive for big events, going to make the city better downtown, building all the superfluous stuff around the, stadium. Obviously the Four Seasons is going up right there. So all of that's great. And then he flushes it down the toilet, 3 months later by keeping Trent Baalke. And again, maybe Trent will work out fine, but I know how the fan base is reacting, and they're blaming Shad Khan, and he didn't help himself at all with that train wreck of a Zoom call.
Yeah, the fan base went to a very dark place football-wise on Monday. I haven't seen it that negative, maybe ever, among the Jaguar fan base. Final moments with Mark Long. All right, looking ahead. The crazy thing about this soap opera, again, we're only 2 or 3 days into this, and the head coaching search really hasn't even begun yet. They don't do their first virtual interview, I believe, until Friday. But the more people you talk to and hear from around the league, the more speculation that Trent Baalke may not necessarily be as safe as maybe it was alluded to on Monday. I mean, it's wild, the thought of, all right, if candidates come in and have a problem with Trent, well then could Shad relocate Trent to another aspect of the organization? Will he blow off the candidate and say, no, Trent's my guy? I mean, Shad has left the door open for so many points of interpretation here that it's almost a reality TV show at this point.
Yeah, I thought that comment about restructuring the front office, I think that meant he was thinking bringing people around, either above or below Trent, things like that. His thing was, my response would be, how would you improve it? And then if it's credible, you want to do it. How does the structure work? I want to make sure this isn't about ego or power or something more sinister, quite frankly. Typical Shad, he's trying to say the right thing, but it comes off completely wrong. I think what he did say at the very end, if it's a legit effort to get better, then everything should be on the table. And I just don't think that in his mind, he was thinking Baalke's out the door. Baalke's his guy. Now, does he bring in an EVP? Maybe. Does he bring in some help for Baalke? Maybe. He's talked about that before. But I never read that as a realistic, basically, threat that, hey, the new coach can come in here and kick Baalke to the curb.
Let me ask you this as we wrap up. Ben Johnson's the guy everybody wants, so I'll just mention him because I think he's probably the only guy with this much clout. Maybe Vrabel, but I don't even know if they've been linked to Vrabel. I don't think anybody else would have this much clout. If Ben Johnson blows Shad Khan away in the interview process but says, I want to bring a personnel guy with me, what would Shad's reaction be or response be?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. I think the more important, what would Trent Baalke's reaction be? Because I do think, the fan base will kill me for this, but I think there's an element of Trent that if he felt like he was an impediment to fixing it or getting it right, that he might step away. And I say that, and again, everybody will tell me he's a clown, he's a snake, he's not to be true. All this, I get it. I hear it all the time. But I just go by what I know. And then what I know is, there are some things that Trent says that are very believable and credible. And he has made it very clear in the last few days that he's, that maybe Shad should have cleaned house. He told me that. He said that. He said, said it a couple of times. Maybe Shad should have cleaned house. But, he's going to put his head down and work hard and try to get this thing turned around and keep going. He looks at 3-10 record in one-score games, and, he looks at that as, okay, there's talent here. You're in all these games. There's talent. You see the talent. there's a common thread when you're not winning any of those games, and it's, maybe it's quarterback play, maybe it's injuries, but I think push comes to shove, there are a lot of people in the building who believe that's coaching, not getting it done. So from that standpoint, I still think, if Ben Johnson was the guy and it meant Trent stepping aside, I think he'd think about it. I would not say it would be out of the realm. And for Shad and him to have a conversation about, maybe moving on and being compensated for moving on or something like that, being bought out, that I wouldn't rule it out, but I think they're going to listen to these guys. And if somebody, how does that even get said, by the way? Byron Leftwich, that was supposedly said with Byron Leftwich, and now he denies it. He's denied it emphatically that he never said that. That was never told to the Jags that he didn't want to work for Balky.
Well, and there are already reports out. I think Jonathan Jones of CBS had a report out that he's talked to a coaching candidate. He didn't specify which one, but look, how many of them are going to say, I want a personnel guy with me? I would assume if it's not Ben Johnson, then I don't know who it is, but he technically did not say that, but he said a coaching candidate told him in regards to Jacksonville that he would listen to them, but that he might want to bring his own personnel guy with him, and you'd have to see how the Jaguars would play that. And I'm not saying Trent needs to be necessarily fired, but you talk about Shad running a Fortune 500 company, you can relocate guys, and maybe there would be a relocation of Trent Baalke to maybe a consultant role or something else if it meant getting Ben Johnson his own GM.
Yeah, I think if you're Ben Johnson and the Jags are going to keep Trent Baalke, and if you don't want, I don't say Ben Johnson, and if you're any legitimate coaching candidate and you don't want to work with Trent Baalke, you'd still do the interview because you don't want to not do the interview. You do the interview and you take another job, right? You don't ever, maybe you never even tell Shad, hey, this is why I don't want to work for you. Maybe you just take a different job. The last thing you want is that out there, because it just makes you look like a prima donna or somebody who's not willing to do it the other, the traditional way, which, there's a lot of these openings don't have, open GMs. A lot of them are, you're joining a sitting GM and you better make it work. What I would say is I think a lot of these guys in the back of their mind come in and they'd be like, okay, if it doesn't work out, I turn on the GM and the owner's going to pick between the GM and me after year one. I got a pretty good chance, especially if Baalke didn't get a contract extension, which, that was another comical one for Shad to say that's not relevant. It's absolutely relevant, whether or not Trent Baalke has got an extension or is he entering the final year of his contract. So, total mess. I would be stunned, but to answer your question, all of that to answer your question, I'd be stunned if Shad Khan picked somebody. If he wants Trent Baalke, then he's going to find a head coach who will agree to work with Trent Baalke.
Mark Long of the AP. It should be a very interesting couple of weeks. Mark does a terrific job not only covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, but down there in Gainesville with the Florida Gators. Mark, I know you're busy. Thank you for taking time out, pal. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hacker. Appreciate you.
There you go, Mark Long of the AP with us here on Hacker After Dark. We'll get more into the Jacksonville Jaguars with a former Jaguar Pro Bowler, my friend Leon Searcy. You hear him every day on Prime Time. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. I will tell you, 10 minutes to go in the first half down at the Orange Bowl, the national semifinal, if you will. Notre Dame and Penn State got a defensive battle. Penn State with a field goal, and that's it. Nittany Lions lead the Irish 3-0, 10 minutes to go in the first half. Again, the winner of this game will play the winner of Texas and Ohio State tomorrow night. Penn State 3, Notre Dame 0, 10 minutes to go until halftime. Leon Searcy, you hear him every day on XL Primetime. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. What does Leon think of everything that has transpired with his former organization this week? It's a Thursday night, a cold Thursday night in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark rolls on till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
your radio highlight reel.
Caught for the touchdown.
1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T here, and it's a brand new year, which means a brand new you, especially in the bedroom. So if you're ready to make 2025 the year to level up where it counts, let me make it a little easier for you. Get yourself some Blue Chew. They've got a chewable tablet that has the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxyn. That means you're getting top-tier performance, my boy, without leaving the house. Blue Chew comes right to your front door in a discreet package, so your neighbors won't even know what's going on. But you will. No doctor's offices and no pharmacy run. Just licensed medical providers helping you find the right prescription. And guess what? They're made right here in the USA. Oh, and did I mention it's free? Yeah, you heard me. Your first month is free. So what you waiting for? Visit BlueChew.com and get a consultation. And start your year off with confidence to keep things interesting in that bedroom. Get that Blue Chew at BlueChew.com, baby. Let's make this year unforgettable.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a professional stamp licker from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Martin Celery.
Oh, gosh. I can't wait to play, Bob.
Well, let's move things along. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
Wait, but I...
That's right, Marty. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we've stocked up on the remaining inventory of low-cost 2024 model air conditioners. So you win. We're passing the savings on to you.
Can I answer a question first?
We need to make room for the 25s, so we're offering great deals on AC replacements while supplies last.
Could I spin the wheel at least? I've been practicing for a year.
With last-minute deals like this, there's no question that you are cool.
What do I tell my kids?
There you go. Have a souvenir t-shirt.
Thanks.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Break up with stinky clothes.
Rinse it out. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of the stinks that just will never come out. Pour down in the rinse change. Every now and then I rinse it out. One wash and it delivers. One wash, it smells so clean. Downy Rinse and Refresh, it's a dream.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Fights odor in just one wash. Guaranteed.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Get more Gators with Dan Hickett and me, Frank Frangie, on all things Gators on 1010XL Gators Podcast, with new episodes every Monday, brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, wherever you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com.
Start the new year with a fresh look for your home. It's the Renewal by Andersen New Year's sales event. For a limited time, save 20% off on our energy-efficient windows and patio doors designed to keep your home comfortable year-round and your energy bills down. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation. But hurry, the special New Year's offer won't last. License number CGC 1527613.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Hello,
First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Hi, Jags fans. Walker Little here for my friends at Kingfish Pest Control. Playing offensive line in the NFL, I must block and protect on every down. When it comes to keeping my home pest-free, I expect that same level of protection. So I contacted Kingfish after seeing thousands of positive online customer reviews about their service. I can confirm from personal experience, bugs don't stand a chance getting past Kingfish Pest Control. Do what I did. Reach out to Kingfish Pest Control to protect your home, a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Obviously, the big news this week, Doug Peterson out as the Jaguar head coach. Trent Baalke remains as the general manager as the head coaching search is officially underway. There is a ton to get into. There is a ton to react to. And with that, let me welcome in my friend Leon Searcy. You hear him every day on XL Primetime, former Pro Bowl offensive tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're lucky enough to have him every week here on Hacker After Dark. Leon, how are you, pal?
I'm good, bro.
Leon, it's been quite the week. You and I had the fifth quarter on Sunday, and it wasn't 12 hours later, Monday morning, that we found out Doug Peterson is out. Trent Baalke remains. We'll get to the Baalke side of this in a moment. But as far as Doug Peterson, Leon, boy, he lost 18 of his final 23, man. In your opinion, why did it not work out for him with the Jaguars?
Well, I mean, listen, I mean, Doug Peterson's resume speaks for itself. I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning coach, all right? So there was more than enough reason to bring him into Jacksonville because initially we thought that bringing Doug Peterson here was going to elevate Trevor Lawrence. Listen, this whole thing is about, Trevor Lawrence and his team ascending into heights that has never been before. And then unfortunately, we saw we saw a glimpse of it in the back end of 2022 when the team made a playoff run and lost to the Chiefs, a game they should have won, but they had missed opportunities that cost them the game. And, going into that next year, the team started at 8-3, then they collapsed towards the end, and then you saw filters of that collapse, simmer into this season. Not simmer, would mudslide into this season, where this team finished 5-17 over the last 5-18, the last 23 games. So I mean, any coach in the NFL with that kind of resume down the stretch just can't survive. Only winning 5 of the last 23 games, and unfortunately for Doug Peterson, Trevor, he's regressed. The team had a bunch of injuries. Trevor had injuries, back-to-back injuries. And quite frankly, I don't think the roster was assembled for him to have success over the last couple of years. And unfortunately, he had to be fired.
The interesting thing about that, it's been such an active week. I mean, we're talking, 48, 72 hours ago that all this transpired. And the Doug Peterson topic, Leon, is definitely the understatement, right? The overwhelming story is the fact that Trent Baalke remains here in Jacksonville. What was your reaction to that news?
Well, listening to the presser on Monday with Trent Baalke and Shad Khan, I didn't get any smarter. Let me just say that. I definitely didn't get any smarter pertaining to the direction of the team, where we're going moving forward. So, I mean, that was an unfortunate thing. It seemed, I don't want to say it seemed scripted, but it did. It seemed like the Baalke gave Shad Khan cliff notes what to say. And let me just say this. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Shad's incompetent because he's a billionaire, okay? You don't become a billionaire being incompetent. But I just think that he's been misinformed by people the closest to him, and I think he's on the outside looking in on what direction this team is going. I mean, and I think Trent Baalke has him. You know, he has him at his disposal. I mean, whatever Trent is, that's the impression that I get from what I saw in the presser, that he believes what Trent says about the team. And a lot of those statements that he made had to be written by Trent. I mean, a lot of the stuff he was talking about percentage-wise and where we were here, where we were there, that's all bulky stuff. There's no way the owner of the team knows all that specifics of where we are ranked, the positions, and all that kind of stuff, whatever. So, I just think that Sean Collins is in a situation where he's being misinformed, and the direction of the team has no real oversight. I think that until this change is made at the general manager position, I think that we're on the same route, we're on the same bus route.
Former Jaguar offensive tackle Leon Searcy. You hear him every day on Primetime. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. Leon, I made this point to you during the fifth quarter at some points this year. It's not as if Baalke is not without positives. You know, I've talked all week about Anton Harrison and obviously Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, good grief. You know, Tyson Campbell, Walker Little, Tank Bigsby, Brenton Strange, Trayvon Walker. You can go on down the line. I don't give him credit for Trevor, but, other than that, he's drafted some decent players. But the problem, Leon, is that for every positive that you mention about the guy, you can probably mention a negative that offsets it.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of people come up to me and say the same thing. They say that, Baalke's drafted this, drafted that. But what's the record of those players that he drafted?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they're participants. Yeah, they're participants. They're playing. Some are even starting. But what's their record? I mean, you can individualize all the different guys that he drafted as well, but take, for instance, this year. Okay, yeah, you drafted Brian Thomas Jr. and you got Mason Smith. Guess what? Brian Thomas Jr.'s record is 4-13. Individually he had a stellar year. Absolutely. But I tell you this, any player in that locker room would tell you this. If they care anything about the team and organization, that they would trade their individual accomplishments for team success. So those guys that you're mentioning that he drafted or that are participants or starters or good rotational guys, they've got losing records.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. So what does that say about it? What does that say about your team? You drafted these so-called starters, but they got losing records. So, I mean, you draft guys, I tell you what, you can ask the Detroit Lions, all those guys that are participating right now with the team, they're the number one seed. And they were in the NFC Championship game the last year. So, I mean, yeah, it's good to point out all the things that he's done positively as far as draft goes. But when you look at it, the big picture, those guys that he's drafted are losing records, have losing records.
I talked to one of your former teammates, Tom McManus, earlier this week here on Hacker After Dark. I've heard Baselli and Fred Taylor this week. You're one of the guys to certainly ask as well. One of the best Jaguar players ever. You've made your home here in Jacksonville. We'll talk about the candidates here in a moment, Leon, but this team has lacked really an identity, right? They've lacked a lot of, whether you want to call it culture or whatever. I mean, they're obviously, we talk about the record all the time, 64-148 going back to the beginning of 2012. If it were you, not necessarily a name, or you can throw one out there if you like, but what type of guy would you want to come in here and be the head coach of this football team?
Well, I mean, I would like the type of guy to be, I like to be stern, hold them accountable, inspire, lead them. Someone who understands morale, a guy who demands success, and winning and losing is not tolerated. and a guy who has the pedigree, the guy that has the proof in the pudding that he's been successful wherever he's gone. I thought Doug initially was that guy. That's that's the kind of guy. I'm a little bit, it doesn't necessarily for me have to be old school because I had Bill Cowher and I had Tom Coughlin. Tom was stern and held you accountable. Bill was the same way, but he was a player's coach. I mean, so somewhere that nice little mixture of like a player's coach, but stern and holds you accountable and demands success. It doesn't tolerate losing.
And you had Bill Cowher and Tom Coughlin when they were young, right? When they were starting up their careers. You with Pittsburgh in the early 90s, and when you came here to Jacksonville in 1996. A couple of more for Leon Searcy. All right, we'll get to the offensive guys in a moment, but, whether it's Aaron Glenn, a defensive guy, you look at what D'Amico Ryans has done in Houston, Leon, what Dan Quinn did in Washington this year. I don't necessarily think you can discount defensive guys, right? I mean, is that something that you would look at, or do you feel ultimately it needs to be an offensive mind?
No, I mean, it could be an offensive mind or it could be a defensive guy mentality. I mean, the most important thing, everybody's looking at the figure here, which is important because you need somebody that's going to be a spokesman for the franchise and is going to stand firm at the podium and assess what we're looking to do this upcoming season. But for me, bro, it's what kind of assistance are you bringing here? That's important to me because as much as you talk about the head coach, the assistant coaches are the ones who spend 95% of the time with the players and developing them, teaching them the professionalism of studying film and taking notes and executing how you're going to play during the week or how you're going to play essentially on Sundays. Those are the type of guys that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a head coach that's going to bring in guys that can mentor and develop and teach these guys how to be professionals and hold them accountable each and every day. Make sure they compete, not only on the field, but in the classroom, in the weight room. Make sure guys show up on time and hold them accountable for those type of things. And that's what I'm looking for. Whoever's the head coach, God bless them, whoever it may be. But I'm going to be taking especially whoever's going to be coaching the offensive line. I mean, that assistant coach, what are some of his techniques and fundamentals? I mean, what is the thing that he works on? Those type of things. So, I'll be supportive of whatever decision the Jaguars make as far as the coaching staff goes, but I'm going to be very, very particular in the type of guys that they hire as far as assistants go.
Leon, as we begin to wrap up, I think the overwhelming majority of people listening right now are either in the Ben Johnson camp, and if they're not there, they're probably in the Liam Cohen camp. Those seem to be the two that everybody have kind of shifted towards. There are a few people in the Joe Brady camp, a few people in the Aaron Glenn camp. I don't want to discount them, but I think if you did a straw poll, Ben Johnson and or Liam Cohen are the two favorites, at least of the fan base. Are those your two favorites right now?
Well, I mean, that's understandable because the face of the franchise is still Trevor, and Trevor has regressed over the last 2 years, and he can't stay healthy over the last 2 years. So I can understand the fan base wanting to bring in somebody who's offensive-minded, which is fine. But also, I mean, I like Monkey. I like Todd Monkey from the Ravens. I think that he's done an outstanding job up there in Baltimore, and I think that, listen, Trevor Lawrence's best friend this year, upcoming season, will be a running game, in my opinion. I assess that if you can run the ball and play action and be tough on defense, you can win a lot of ball games. I mean, I think that Doug's offense was more geared toward Trevor getting the ball out of his hand, throwing a bunch of passes, but we've got to reestablish. You look at what Jim Harbaugh has done with the San Diego Chargers. At first and early on in his career, Justin Herbert was throwing the ball around everywhere. But I think that you bring in someone like Jim Harbaugh who understands you got to build from the inside out. You have to establish the run game. You don't put all the pressure on your quarterback to win games. You run, you play tough, hard-nosed defense, you steal possessions. I mean, Justin Herbert right now, I think he has 24, 23 touchdowns, maybe 3 interceptions. But their win ratio is up 7 games from where it was a year ago. So you're talking about a 4-12 team last year who's 11-6 now in the playoffs, running the ball, play action, tough defense, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I would love to have somebody like that, but they would have to come in here and resurgence this offensive line, get the run game going, and just get Trevor to think a little differently. I mean, instead of high flying, throwing the ball everywhere, play action, run, establish the ground game, play tough-nosed defense to steal possessions from the offense. And if Trevor can work that way, listen, I think that could be the move. I think Monken, in my opinion, would be my number one overhaul as far as the head coaching job goes.
I like that because it's a different opinion than most, but you're a voice that people listen to, so you're on the Todd Monken train. We'll see what happens. He is also on the list of guys the Jaguars have requested to interview. You hear Leon Searcy every day on XL Primetime. We get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark, the former Pro Bowl offensive tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Leon, appreciate it. Enjoy the playoff action this week. We'll talk next week, my friend.
You got it, bro.
Joe C., Matt Hayes, and Leon.
What about the motto of the Musketeers? All for one and one for all.
XL Primetime.
All for one?
Weekdays 2 to 4 on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
New Year's resolutions. But let's be honest. By February, that gym membership is just a $50 a month guilt trip.
So why not take that cash and finally fix your leaky faucet, unclog that drain, or tune up your AC?
Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning has your back. Start the year fresh. No leaks, no clogs, no excuses.
It's a resolution you'll actually keep.
Call Duck Rooter at 904-862-6769 today. Because when you're stuck, call the Duck. Right now, get $50 off any service of $150 or more.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. My designer, Frances, made the process so easy. She came to my house and designed a walk-in closet that's not only beautiful, but incredibly functional for me and Beau Valentine. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com and take advantage of their 40% off New Year savings this month only, including 18 months special financing. Closets by Design.
Kenny Thompson here for Tyson Sound and Security. Transform your home into the ultimate entertainment hub. Whether you're hosting the big game inside or out on the patio, Tyson's top-tier surround sound systems will make you feel like you're at the stadium. Enjoy crystal clear sound and breathtaking visuals, all seamlessly installed by Tyson's experts. Get ready for game day and every day after. Visit our new showroom on US 17. Call 762-1000 or go to TysonSoundSecurity.com. Tyson, your home theater and security pros.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Bull riding. The perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
Rev up your life with luxury at Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard. Right now, used car prices are 12% lower than their peak in April of 2022, making this the perfect time to drive home in a dream car. Specializing in luxury used vehicles, offering you elegance at prices that are finally coming back down to earth. See special listings in the newspaper every Saturday or online at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
This is the Mangler. Years of playing football coupled with lifestyle left my feet mangled with neuropathy. I was experiencing burning, tingling, and numbness. I spoke with 2 foot specialists and they told me there was no cure. They were wrong. I found Dr. Nate Riddle in Ponte Vedra. After utilizing his neuropathy treatment for only 2 weeks, I noticed a difference in my feet. I was regaining my feeling and balance. If you want relief from nerve pain, call Dr. Nate for a free consultation at Riddle Wellness, 904-395-5598.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
How much do the performers for Super Bowl halftime shows get paid?
Filing an insurance claim following a storm shouldn't be an ordeal. Southern Oak Insurance's claim team prepares for catastrophic situations well in advance. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Super Bowl performers are not paid for their shows, but production costs are covered by the NFL, which could go as high as $15 million.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Into the 9 o'clock hour we go. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Coming up in less than 10 or 15 minutes, we will go up to Detroit. One of my guys when it comes to the Lions is Mike Peyton, A to Z Sports.com up in the Motor City. I want to talk about Ben Johnson. I want to talk about Aaron Glenn, 2 guys the Jaguars will interview virtually on Saturday, both the offensive and defensive coordinators with the Detroit Lions. We'll talk to a guy that covers that team every day, Mike Peyton of A to Z Sports.com up in Detroit in about 10 minutes or so. Also, Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country and host of the Duval Dive podcast. He joins me towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. College football playoff, the Orange Bowl, guess the Final Four, the first national semifinal, whatever you want to call it. They are approaching halftime. Penn State 10-0 over Notre Dame. Notre Dame does have the ball inside the Penn State red zone. Again, only 18 seconds to go until halftime. We'll see if Notre Dame can get some points on the board. It has been a defensive battle, but also not a lot of good offensive play either. But Penn State does lead 10-0. That would be a surprise for me. I thought Notre Dame would win the game. Penn State has looked like the better team thus far. It'll be interesting, though, to see if Notre Dame can get some points on the board. Of course, tomorrow night, Texas and Ohio State. Denmark, the first 12-team playoff. Admittedly, the seeding was off. They're going to have to make some changes. But, man, kind of underwhelming, right? And you can almost even say worse things than that. It has not been a lot of great drama in this thing to this point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people forget when the 4-team playoffs started, that was mostly blowouts up until a couple of years ago before you had a lot of good games. I mean, it's college football is a sport where it's haves and have-nots, and you look at the roster of SMU and Indiana, they don't match up to the teams that they played, and, you get to see that. The first round bye, a lot of the teams, other than Georgia and Oregon, Arizona State and Boise State was just because of, how the bracket fell, and they were fortunate to win their conference and get that. But, I mean, all in all, I think it's going to be fine. It'll, level itself out, and it's not going to change next year because it has to change unanimously. All the conference commissioners have to vote if they want to change how the bracket is, so we'll probably see change in 2026.
Looks like Notre Dame is going to try to get a field goal. Is that Abdul Carter? Yeah, Abdul Carter with the sack of Riley Leonard. Abdul Carter is going to be a top 5 pick. He will be a guy we talk about here in Jacksonville, the edge rusher for Penn State. That guy has been a ferocious monster tonight. Notre Dame can seemingly not stop him.
And that's not Riley Leonard, by the way. He got hurt. I think he got concussed.
Oh, Leonard's out. Oh, okay. I did not see that. All right, interesting. Well, that
happened on the drive.
It happened on this drive? All right, well, that'll be something to follow in the second half. But Abdul Carter goes right around the edge, sacks the quarterback, so Notre Dame's going to try to settle for 3 to get on the board here as we approach halftime in the Orange Bowl. Back into the National Football League. Let's head to Detroit. Mike Peyton, A2ZSports.com. He's been one of my guys for years when it comes to the Lions. Let's talk Aaron Glenn. Let's talk Ben Johnson. And let's talk about how both guys would fit here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's next on a Thursday evening in Northeast Florida with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us as we roll on till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
There's a reason why people love to listen to play-by-play on the radio.
This is unbelievable what we're witnessing. I'm serious.
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
Hacker here, and for the first time in nearly 20 years, I finally get to have a different resolution. Like most of you, mine was always to lose weight. I'd try something for a few weeks, maybe lose a pound or 2, and then give up. Well, I tried. Starting the new year with Awaken 180 isn't a try. It's a sure thing. And why will you stick with it? Because instead of a pound or 2, you'll see results right out of the gate. We all need motivation. After my first 3 weeks with Awaken 180, I was already down 30 pounds. Granted, I had a lot of weight to lose, but look at Dempsey. Look at Matt Hayes. Those guys had results out of the gate too. Dempsey dropped 9 pounds his first week. Matt dropped 12 pounds. Regardless of the weight you need to drop, seeing those fast results will motivate you to reach your goal. Guys, girls, losing weight regardless of how many times you've tried is possible with Awaken 180. Make the sure bet and make 2025 the last time losing weight is your New Year's resolution. Online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Get off the ladder and put on the helmet with Gutter Helmet of North Florida. We are family owned and manufactured locally. Cleaning your gutters is a dangerous and dirty job. That's why with Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. Water goes in your gutters while trash and debris go on the ground. It won't collect like filters do. Gutter Helmet protects. Call now for 10% off and a free gutter cleaning and tune-up with your purchase of Gutter Helmet. Call 904-762-7779.
Ammon, you're always talking about how clean air is healthy air. I've had this cold for weeks. Can cleaning my air ducts actually help?
Well, Dad, I'm not a doctor, and let's be honest, you probably caught that cold from one of your grandkids. But I can tell you this, the cleaner your air, the better you'll feel.
Makes sense, but what do air ducts have to do with it?
Your ducts are like the lungs of your home. If they're full of dust, allergens, and who knows what else, all that junk gets blown into the air you breathe, especially now that the heat's running. And the EPA says improving indoor air quality can reduce health risk.
So you're telling me my vents are working harder than my immune system?
Exactly. That's why Zero Res is here. We're NADCA certified, and our truck mount system is the most powerful in the industry. Right now, we're even offering $100 off your total for January.
All right, sign me up. If it makes me feel better and keeps your mom off my back, I'm all in.
Good call, Dad.
Zero Res.
Spelled border backwards.
It's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
January 9, 1991, Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan scores a game-high 40 points to lead the Bulls to a win over Philadelphia, reaching the 15,000-point mark of his career.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. Terminix stops termites in my home fast. These destructive pests may have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so does Terminix. And their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem. I certainly wasn't going to. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. Terminix.com.
When it comes to towing products, your safety on the road is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Whether it's a heavy-duty tow hitch, trailer frame, wiring, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com to explore a range of products and schedule your installation. Cannons of Jacksonville, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Hey, Hicken here with a message from Zero Res. Guess what? We love rugs. We'll treat your fine Oriental rugs with tender, loving care they deserve. How about Gerard, the Zero Res rug cleaning manager, one of the few certified master rug cleaners in the state of Florida? If you want your rugs cleaned with tender, loving care, call Zero Res. Right now, have one rug washed, and we'll wash a second rug free. That's right, buy one, the second one on me. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Tired of weekend projects turning into weekend disasters? You're not alone. Building a fence isn't as easy as it looks. Let's face it, your neighbor Steve still hasn't fixed his lopsided masterpiece. But Superior Fence and Rail makes it easy. Highly trained professionals, top quality materials, and a fence you'll love for years to come. Skip the stress and call the pros today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Doug Peterson out as the Jaguar head football coach. The head coaching search has begun, and two of the names that are very prominent on that Jaguar fan wish list are, of course, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, both coordinators up with Detroit. Well, let's head to the Motor City. One of our guys when it comes to the Lions is Mike Peyton. A2ZSports.com is where you find his work, and Mike is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Mike, how you doing, man?
Good, Ryan. Happy to be here.
Hey, Mike, we always appreciate the time. All right, I'm sure, in fact, I know Jacksonville is not the only team that's interested in both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. From a guy that covers this team, I mean, the staff that Dan Campbell assembled up there, absolutely spectacular, which is probably a large reason, Mike, why they've been so successful, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that, the culture that this team has built, that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have put together, and the hiring that they've done it's been second to none, in my opinion. I think this is exactly what this Lions franchise has needed for 50, 60 years. They just needed the right group of guys to come in and the right culture, and everything's been built so well.
Jaguar fans really, really want Ben Johnson. So let's begin there. Ben Johnson has had the opportunity to be a head coach in the past, Mike. In fact, I think he all but had the commander job, and he basically turned it down last year. I think Carolina was also in the mix maybe, and he said no to them. He's from North Carolina. In your opinion, why has Ben Johnson stuck around in Detroit when he had other head coaching opportunities?
I think that there's a couple of different things. Really, the first big thing is that, Ben has talked about in the past, these past couple of years, you see these guys, they get hired, they go out and they get the job, and then they're just not around for very long. Teams have a very high lack of patience right now with their head coaches, with their GMs, with their quarterbacks. And, I think that he's wanted to find a team that has patience, that isn't looking for its third or fourth head coach in the last 10 years or less. And that has been a big factor in why he stayed in Detroit. And the other thing is, I think he just really enjoys calling plays and going home. There's not a lot of stress to there's obviously some stress, but there's not as much stress as being a head coach. And, his family also really enjoys this area. He really likes living here. He likes the franchise. He likes Dan Campbell, obviously, the freedom that Campbell gives him here. It's really a great job. And it's kind of, why would you want to leave it? That sort of situation.
Mike Peyton, A2ZSports.com, our guy up in Detroit when it comes to the Lions. I obviously have never met or talked with Ben Johnson, but people that you talk to, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they use the term like quirky. He's kind of a quirky guy. And you could say the same thing about like Mike McDaniel in Miami, right? Obviously, he's a little quirky in his own right. How would you describe Ben Johnson? What type of guy is he?
I think that's a fair assessment. A lot of these offensive guru type guys are that's how they are. They're kind of quirky guys. They're scientists, if you will. They really, factor in or focus in on how they can do different things, and they come up with all kinds of different plays. Their minds are always moving. And I think quirky would be a pretty good way to sum up how Ben Johnson is. He's just hyper focused on constantly figuring out new ways to move the ball. And I mean, everybody always talks about, well, hey, that was a cool play that you did against the Chicago Bears the other day where you stumbled on purpose. But why are you using these plays in not important games? But like they really underestimate how deep the bag is and how much he's constantly thinking about new things. And we haven't seen probably 75% of the stuff that he has in his mind or has thought about trying. So I think that's the kind of guy that he is. You are going to see all kinds of brand new things, and he'll seemingly never run out of it.
Do you get the sense that now is the time? Like we said, he's had opportunities in years past, but do you get the sense, Mike, being around him, that Ben Johnson is going to take one of these jobs?
I don't. I
Really?
do not. I do not think that this is the year that it happens. I think really the Patriots are the big job that I kind of think fit into everything that he's been wanting to look for in terms of being a head coach. I don't think that the Bears, while he is going to interview with them, I don't think that's going to happen, especially after Bears owner George McCaskey came out yesterday and said, basically the most important thing to Ben Johnson isn't important to him, if he will. But he's going to be very selective about his process this year. And teams are not necessarily interviewing Ben Johnson as much as Ben Johnson is interviewing teams.
Do you know of, is there a guy that Johnson has been linked to that he would want as his general manager?
Not at this time. Nobody that's really popped up. There's some thought process that maybe Lions assistant GM Ray Agnew would be up for a job somewhere, and that would be a good pairing. Somebody that he's worked hand in hand with the last few years. But anything else has just been hearsay. Just, hey, he might know this guy over here. Like, that's kind of why he keeps getting linked to Chicago, because he has some people there that he knows. And another guy actually is Lance Newmark, who is Washington's assistant GM. he could potentially be up for a GM job. He spent the last 20 some odd years with the Lions. He was with Detroit for so long, just 1 year in Washington, but he could also be another guy that could be a GM that could pair with Johnson. But I think that's probably about it.
Interesting. Mike Peyton, A2ZSports.com, our guy up in Detroit. All right, Ben Johnson's obviously getting a lot of talk down here. Jaguar fans, honestly, are not going to like your assessment of that. But Aaron Glenn is another guy the Jaguars have requested an interview, and I believe he has already accepted that, and he's going to interview here in Jacksonville towards the end of the week. Dan Campbell, very, very high praise of Aaron Glenn, his defensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn actually spent a season here in Jacksonville, I believe, in 2007. Do you believe Aaron Glenn is going to leave Detroit for a head coaching gig in the next couple of weeks?
100%. Yeah, I think that he is. And honestly, and I've said this, I even said this last year when I talked to some Titans sports guys. I think that this is the guy you want. If you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, I think you want Aaron Glenn. I understand that Ben Johnson is like super fun and can come up with all these types of plays, and it's all great. But at the end of the day, when you sign a guy like Ben Johnson to be your head coach, it's almost as if you're building around just Trevor Lawrence, and that's fine. Trevor's a great quarterback. I think that he could be one of the best in the NFL, and I think there's a ton of potential there. When you bring in a guy like Aaron Glenn, you are saying we're going to build around this entire team. We're going to build a culture. We're going to build, a whole new thing here where everybody is going to be accountable and everybody's going to, start believing. And it's that culture. I mean, it's huge. That's what Dan Campbell did so successfully here, and that's what the Lions missed for so many years was somebody that could come in and turn this thing around, get the culture going, get everyone on the same page, get everyone to believe that they could make things happen. And look at it now. This is a 15-2 football team that has a real chance to win a Super Bowl. And I think it has a lot more to do with that than it does with trick plays. And I know that, most people will not like that assessment, but I think Aaron Glenn is the defensive version of Dan Campbell, and I think that he could come in there, be a leader of men, and absolutely get the culture right in that locker room.
It's interesting that you say that, and I was going to ask you that. I mean, Dan Campbell's one of a kind. It's kind of hard to emulate Dan Campbell, but I have heard from others that Aaron Glenn is a similar type guy. You would agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He is an extension of Dan Campbell in every single way. I think that they are so much alike. I don't know if, Aaron's going to come in and start going for it on fourth down every week, and, but he is somebody that players absolutely love and get behind. They'll walk through the gates of hell with him.
One of my thoughts, too, people were talking about and linking Ben Johnson with Mark Brunell, obviously the former Jaguar. Well, what's to say Aaron Glenn, if he gets the job here, wouldn't bring Mark Brunell with him in some capacity as a quarterback coach or as maybe even an offensive coordinator, at least something to think about if you're a Jaguar fan. Mike, leave us with this. Obviously, the Lions have an off week this week. They're going to get rested up. It looks like David Montgomery might actually be back for the divisional round. Boy, there's got to be so much excitement in Detroit with home field advantage, knowing somebody's going to have to come in there and beat them to prevent them from going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's been unreal. It's been an unreal season, 15-2. I've been around this team my entire life. I don't think I ever expected a 15-2 season. If you'd have told me as a kid, I would have called you a liar probably. But yeah, this is the year that they really have a chance, and having home field advantage through the NFC Championship game, that's huge. Looking forward to seeing who they're going to be facing, and we'll go from there.
Mike Peyton, A2ZSports.com. He's our guy when it comes to the Detroit Lions. Mike, appreciate you joining us, talking about both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. We'll see where the dust settles, and we'll hopefully be able to dial your phone here in a couple of weeks. Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ryan.
Built for Jacksonville, by Jacksonville. 1010XL.
New ball till we die.
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Break up with stinky clothes.
Rinse it out. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of the stinks that just will never come out. Pour down in the rinse change. Every now and then I rinse it out. One wash and it delivers. One wash, it smells so clean. Downy Rinse and Refresh, it's a dream.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Fights odor in just one wash. Guaranteed.
You know, many plumbers won't quote prices over the phone and instead charge a service fee for an in-home estimate. Of course, because they know once they're in your home, you're probably not going to send them away. But Roland Reach Plumbing is different. Roland will give you a price quote over the phone. And there's never a trip charge or service fee for an estimate. So if you've got a leak and can't wait a week and don't like paying unnecessary fees, call on Roland Reach Plumbing at plumbingjacksonville.com.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser start the week by giving the ball to the best back in Duval.
And off, Fred Taylor.
Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins DUI Defense Firm and Monahan Jewelers on 1010XL.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Mia here. Why Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned? I'll tell you why. Over 600 vehicles in stock right now. That's 275 SUVs, over 200 cars, over 110 pickups on the ground in stock, one location. Arlington Pre-Owned even has 125 vehicles under $18,000. Plus, Arlington's 30-day exchange program is now double. That's 60 days to love it or exchange it. Plus, Arlington's Credit for Everyone program. Shop 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or arlingtontoyota.com.
Bull riding. The perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein and Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein and Robbins. 354-5645.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Hey, this is Bert Cannon with the First Coast YMCA. Youth sports at the Y can help nurture your future athlete's potential and experience the joy of being a kid. At the Y, we're providing a safe, clean, and fun environment with basketball, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, elite skills training, and more. Best of all, participation in Legacy Youth Sports League is free with your family membership. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Of course, the big news, Doug Peterson out as the Jaguar head coach. Trent Baalke remains as the GM. The head coaching search is underway. Let's talk about all of it and what we think the future holds for this organization. Travis Holmes covers the Jaguars for Big Cat Country. He's also the host of the Duval Dive podcast. And Travis is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Travis, how you doing, man?
Man, I am great, and you guys are kind enough to have me. I appreciate it. Let's go.
Trav. Yeah, we always appreciate the time. It's a busy week for everybody. All right, you've had a couple of days, I guess, to digest. Doug Peterson out. Trent Baalke remains. From a mile-high view, Travis, just your thoughts on what the Jaguars did this week.
Another half measure, unfortunately. But this was interesting because I had my original thoughts on this, and we spoke about this, a few hours after the news that Doug Peterson will be out and Trent Baalke would be remaining, but before the press conference, if you remember, and it was my feelings were slightly different at the time, and then we had the press conference that occurred, and that was a day of apathy. That was a day of vitriol, for sure. I didn't. Of course, I wasn't in agreement with the half step of letting Doug go and keeping Trent, but also it was kind of expected from my perspective, just because we know who Shad Khan is, right? Like, Shad is a man who is a billionaire by working at Flexingate and building that company by buying up other companies and slowly adding other people and other businesses to that company, and that is how he's made his money. He is corporate America 101 in that way. And if you had any questions on if that is who he is, he expressly told you in that press conference, this is who I am. I'm not someone who is the believer of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, using his terms. So he's told you, I am someone who believes in incremental change. So with that being said, that is where the apathy from the fan base would then come into play, because they're like, oh, I guess we're never going to get a wholesale, clean slate kind of change. And that's very unfortunate for a lot of people, because you don't want to enter that Detroit Lions or Tennessee Titans territory. But here we are.
It's interesting, and I've talked to you about this in the past. You write for Big Cat Country, which is probably the biggest Jaguar fan website out there. You host the Duval Dive podcast. You have a pretty good, I guess, indication of what the Jaguar fan base thinks. And look, Monday, man, I mean, there were some people that went to dark places football-wise on Monday. That was bad, at least when it came to Jaguar social media. Why do you think Jaguar fans ultimately had the reaction that they had to the news?
Well, that's just it. It's clear. It seems clear to anyone who pays very, very, very close attention to this team that Trent Baalke is not the answer, and more importantly, Trent Baalke might be a significant part of the problem. And it just seems pretty obvious that Shad does not come to that same conclusion, that Shad does not see it in that way. But again, this is one of those things that I kind of just feel like that just goes back to his corporate America philosophy of he's running this more like a Fortune 500 business and less like an NFL franchise. And that's very unfortunate, because anyone who's listening to me, if you work in corporate America, what's the main thing that happens in these big businesses? Backbiting. people covering their own. That's what happens. But in the NFL circles, this is just different, man. It is like it's based on relationships. It's based on trust. It's based on sharing the same philosophy while you're building this thing together. So you gotta have to have each other's back. And the backbiting and all of those things they don't have a place if you want to be a successful organization. But Shad does not seem to get that piece of running this organization in that way. So unfortunately, we all see it as if you having your head coach and your general manager on the same playing field, on the same line of thought is key. Whereas Shad just feels like these shotgun marriages are going to work because that's what worked in my businesses. So it should just work in time. And that's just not how this goes in the NFL.
It's an interesting thought. Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And look, Travis, I mean, you and I have spoke about Balky in the past. I mean, it's not as if he isn't without some positives. I think reasonably he's done a good job in the draft, right? He's drafted a lot of guys. Now, they've been usually first, second, third-round picks. He hasn't hit on a lot of later-round selections, but you can rattle off, a dozen guys that are going to be the foundation of the Jaguar future that Trent Baalke drafted here in the last couple of years. But for every positive that Balky's done, you could probably list a negative that he's done that would offset it, which I think adds to the frustration.
Sure. And I think that's a fair point, that Trent Baalke is not all bad. He's not all good. Like, he's your quote-unquote the best middle manager, the middlest of the middle manager, if you want to put that again in corporate terms. Like, he is that guy who will always have an answer for why it's someone else's fault. So he's good in the draft while being bad in free agency. He has some hits in the draft, but how many of those are Pro Bowlers or All-Pros that he brought in? Like, again, you're talking Josh Hines-Allen, you're talking Ross Matisick, you're talking Logan Cook. Thank you, Dave Caldwell. What has Trent Baalke done in any of those areas? And that's unfortunately, the answer is maybe Trevor Lawrence, and he was an alternate in the 2023 Pro Bowl. That's it. That's the number one pick in the draft quarterback. That fell into his lap. Like, so if you want to say he's great in the draft, all right, awesome. Is he just average? Is he just barely above average? Is that worth missing out on any of these other candidates who may not be as interested in working with him in that capacity? I'm not sure I would agree with that. All just to have an at best average general manager. Nah, I'm not there.
The one thing, Monday I was not happy. I was like a lot of Jaguar fans. I thought Shad made a mistake, and I agree. That press conference did not look very good, and it's been kind of panned nationally because, Khan basically sat there and said, look, if a candidate comes in here and has different ideas as general manager, I would listen to him and hear him out. And Baalke's just kind of sitting there like a deer in headlights. That was a bizarre look. But in the 24, 48 hours, since, all right, you look at the 6 head coaching openings. 5 of the 6 have a current general manager in place, like here in Jacksonville. So there's an even footing there. And I look at the head coach interview request list the Jaguars released earlier this week, and it's all the guys that people want, right? Now, whether they'll take the interviews or not, yet to be seen, but they're requesting Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, Joe Brady, Aaron Glenn. It's the guys we're all talking about. So from that standpoint, Travis, I guess I feel a little better now than I did Monday evening.
I think so, and that's been my song and dance, I guess I'll call it, of me jumping in, of being optimistic versus just wallowing in this pessimistic soup that we'll call it after that press conference. But I don't know where to fall on this thing as it stands right now, because again, if they are truly open to having that conversation of changing this structure and truly being open to maybe transitioning Trent Baalke into another role within the organization, which is often done in very many corporate America situations, they're not as willing to make wholesale changes, but they'll absolutely transition someone to a different role. So I could see something like that happening. It's just that then leads me to being optimistic with this leadership plan. And I have not seen one thing in these last few hiring cycles that leads me to believe that there's that there's organization truly around it. And that's where I'm just worried. I don't want to believe in that because that's not significantly different than the rumors that Trent Baalke is going to retire for the last 2 seasons that we've heard, or Trent's going to be out, on Black Monday with with Doug. These things don't happen. So because of that, I'm kind of like, we'll see. But it's possible that maybe someone has a great plan and they'll say, hey, I want to bring another guy as my EVP or another guy as general manager and makes Trent director of scouting or vice president or something like that. And it's absolutely possible. And I don't want to discount that. I just have trouble believing in it because they haven't shown me that to give them faith.
Final moments, Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country. You can also check him out as the host of the Duval Dive podcast. All right, Travis, of all the guys that have been mentioned, kind of where are you in who you want? I mean, are you a Ben Johnson guy? Are you a Liam Cohen guy? Maybe Aaron Glenn? What is your individual thought process?
I am so close between Ben Johnson and Leon Cohen that it's nearly impossible to make a difference between the two. And because of that, I'm almost team whoever gets Robert Saleh as the defensive coordinator. Like, that is truly where I'm starting to fall at this current moment in time. Like, and that rumor has swayed from Ben Johnson early in the process to Liam Cohen more recently, depending on who you ask. So, unfortunately, I love that Ben Johnson is so good and so, he's just so freaking creative at getting guys open and using that Detroit Lions offense. But also, I think Liam Cohen has done more with less, and he's done it at multiple stops. And but I haven't seen him do it 2 years in a row, and that does give me pause where I've seen Ben Johnson do it, multiple years in Detroit. So I'm kind of I want to look at the package. If one of those guys can for sure get Robert Saleh as their defensive coordinator to come in, then I'm all on board because that's a veteran presence on that staff at the same time with this first-year head coach.
Yeah, it's curious. I was talking to some of my Detroit colleagues that cover the Lions, and a couple of them are not completely convinced that Ben Johnson's going to take a head coaching job. They think there's a lot of options maybe next offseason with people that could be on the hot seat next year that might entice Ben Johnson more than this coaching cycle. So we'll have to wait and see. Regardless of what happens, Travis, as we say goodbye, the important thing to remind people, this is going to be a process, man. You can't even do individual interviews, I believe, in-person interviews, rather, until January 20th. Everything before that has got to be virtual over Zoom. So we're looking 2-3 weeks minimum, and I would think probably end of January, beginning of February even, before we have a new head coach here.
I believe that sounds right, because that's about the same timeline of when Doug was hired. I mean, in that whole coaching cycle, it was the end of January, early February. You started getting guys hired within 4 and 5 days of each other. So that's about the right timeline of what we should be looking at. So when we get into those in-person interviews, things will start moving quickly the week of that 20th, to your point. So I'm looking forward to it. That's life's going to be a lot of articles on BigCatCountry.com. So definitely add us as your favorites.
Yeah, Travis, as we say goodbye, tell the folks about Big Cat Country, also the Duval Dive podcast. Where can they check you out?
Well, no, absolutely. Big Cat Country is the SB Nation's fan site for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the longest running fan site for the Jaguars also. So definitely check us out. You can get into the comments. It's a very big community and a very active community, just like Jaguars, Twitter, and Discord, and all these other locations. But we actually provide you the news, press conferences, wrap-ups, things from training camp, etc. And we currently have our 2025 Jaguars head coach hiring process page with all their confirmed interviews, requests, rumors, and all of it. So again, check it out, add it to your favorites, and you can catch me on all the socials. Travis T. Holmes. It's always Hacker. I appreciate you having me.
Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. Travis, appreciate the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
And thank you to Travis Holmes, BigCatCountry.com, also the host of the Duval Dive podcast, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark, as we're into, I guess, day 4 of the Jaguar coaching search. Virtual interviews are underway around the league, and it's a process, right? As we talked about, it's going to be a couple of weeks at least. I wouldn't think till late January or early February even that we'll start getting some clarification, if you will, on a lot of these head coaching openings, including right here in Jacksonville. We did hear from Trevor Lawrence earlier today as well down at the Miller Electric Center. It was interesting because we had not heard from Trevor since Azeez Al-Shire did what he did about a month and a half ago or so. Trevor, the brand new dad, but obviously addressed Doug Peterson's firing. I thought had some interesting comments about this being one of the most important off seasons of his career. Talked about the struggles that he'll have his third head coach in a 5-year stretch. I mean, that is a lot for a relatively young quarterback and a relatively young nucleus here for the Jaguars to kind of deal with. Said he had a good relationship with Trent Baalke, is looking forward to building a relationship with whoever the head coach is going to be. Said that he wants to know that if they ask for his opinion, he'd give it. He thinks Trent Baalke and Shad Khan value his opinion on potentially who the next head coach should be, but that obviously he's the quarterback. He's not the owner nor the GM. So I thought Trevor was really insightful today, honestly, talking to the media down at the Miller Electric Center. Well, that'll just about do it, man. It has been a very busy Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country. Always appreciate Travis taking time out for us. Thank you to Mike Peyton, A2ZSports.com, covering the Detroit Lions. We went in depth about both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, both Lions coordinators that will be interviewed by the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up this weekend, virtually, of course. So thank you to Mike Peyton up in Detroit for taking time out for us tonight. Thank you to my man Leon Searcy, former Pro Bowl offensive tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You hear him every day on Prime Time, and we're lucky enough to have him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. And back in hour number 1, my pal Mark Long of the Associated Press, talking about everything that has transpired with the Jacksonville Jaguars in the last week. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Friday, and we will close out the week with you here on Hacker After Dark beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night to close out the week on a Friday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Throughout history, significant numbers have made their mark on our minds. That includes sports,